We all know the icons. The possessed porcelain of Annabelle, the chaotic rage of Chucky. Cinema has spent decades teaching us to fear the inanimate object. We fear them because they are relentless. They are supernatural. They are unstoppable killing machines wrapped in plastic and cloth. But what if I told you there is a name missing from that list? A killer who is more dedicated, more focused, and perhaps more desperate than any of them. Enter Finley. This film introduces us to an entity that has been waiting in an attic for years. He isn't possessed by a demon, and he isn't controlled by a spell. He is simply a creature born with a biological need to hunt. When the new homeowners move in, they think they have bought a house. They don't realize they have walked into a feeding ground. Finley watches from the rafters. He studies their routine. He sharpens his blade. Welcome to Story in Frames. We are a channel dedicated to the art of visual storytelling. We break down the cinematography, the acting nuances, and the hidden details that most viewers miss. We find the meaning behind the frame. If you love cinema that challenges your expectations, you are in the right place. Today, we are looking at a masterclass in perspective. Most slashers rely on brute force, but Finley relies on stealth. He hides in the corners of your vision. The film asks a terrifying question. What happens when a killer is small enough to hide anywhere, but violent enough to end you in your sleep? It's time to open the box. It all begins in the suffocating darkness of an old attic. Three friends cautiously make their way inside. While Chris is visibly excited by the creepy atmosphere, Alexander is disgusted by the thick layers of dust covering everything. Jennifer, meanwhile, silently scans the room. Amidst the disoriented clutter, they discover something strange. A small wooden coffin, nailed shut. Curious, they pry it open. Inside lies a doll, heavily chained, with a cloth bound tightly over its mouth. A faded note attached to the figure reveals a name. Finley. Alexander is immediately unsettled by the creature, but Chris is fascinated. He picks the doll up, mimicking a ventriloquist, and starts cracking jokes, trying to scare the girls. Unamused, Alexander suggests they put the thing back immediately. Chris reluctantly agrees and tosses the doll back into the box. As Jennifer steps forward to arrange Finley neatly inside, she pauses. For a split second, it seems as though the doll's eyes are looking directly at her. Later that night, the house is silent, until Jennifer hears heavy footsteps creaking above in the attic. She steps out of her room to investigate and finds Chris already in the hallway, gripping a baseball bat, ready to knock down any intruder. Suddenly, the footsteps stop. Just as Chris begins to relax, the trapdoor to the attic swings open on its own. Without hesitation, Chris hurtles himself up into the darkness to confront whatever is up there. Terrified, Jennifer retreats to her room and locks herself in with Alexandra. After a few tense moments, the doorknob rattles. It's Chris. He reassures him through the door that there's no one up there. It was likely just mice scurrying around. Relieved, Jennifer returns to her own room, but as she glances up, she notices the attic door has been left wide open. She climbs into bed, trying to shake off the unease. But the moment she closes her eyes, she hears a distinct, heavy sound of chains hitting the floor. Sitting on the chair in the corner of her room is Finley. Horrified, she shoves a decrepit doll out into the hallway and slams the door. The next morning, Jennifer finds her friend sitting at the breakfast table. She confronts Chris, accusing him of playing a prank by putting the doll in her room. Chris denies it, swearing he never touched it. As Chris heads to his home office and the girls go about their daily routines, his eyes move. He is awake, and he is searching for a way to kill his new victims. A ferocious idea forms in his mind. As Jennifer finishes her laundry and leaves the room, she fails to notice that Finley, who was on the table just moments ago, is gone. Unbeknownst to her, he has moved. While Alexander takes a bath, Finley silently creeps up behind Jennifer. He stands there, knife in hand, ready to strike. Jennifer turns around, spotting the doll looming over her. Before she can even scream, Finley charges. But just as he lunges, Jennifer instinctively kicks him. The force sends a tiny doll flying across the room. Finley lies there, stunned, completely unable to process how easily he was defeated. Meanwhile, Alexander hears a commotion from the bathroom and calls out to ask if Jennifer is okay. Finley, undeterred, decides to target his second victim. He drags a bread toaster into the bathroom with lethal intent. He heaves the appliance into the bathwater. Alexander screams, but nothing happens. Finley stares in astonishment. Why isn't she dead? He looks down and realizes the fatal flaw in his plan. He forgot to plug it into the socket. Without electricity, the toaster is just a wet metal box, Later, Chris returns home. Finley, still determined, picks up the baseball bat to ambush him, but the bat is too heavy for his small frame, and due to his short height, he fails to even make a dent. 3 months pass. Finley spends every single day trying and failing to kill them. One day, while Alexander's cooking, he attempts to pour rat poison into the food. Alexander catches him in the act and simply scolds him. Chris, annoyed by the pest, splashes water into Finley's eyes, sending the doll running away in humiliation. Later, as Chris rushes to get into his car for work, Finley strikes again. He leaps from the back seat, attempting to suffocate Chris with a plastic bag. But in his clumsiness, he covers Chris's nose but leaves his mouth completely exposed. Chris breathes easily through his mouth, unimpressed. He looks in the mirror and asks, "Are you done now?" Defeated yet again, Finley scrambles out of the car. Refusing to give up, Finley concocts an elaborate trap. He places a mat on the floor, drives a nail through it, and scatters marbles across the hallway. His plan is brilliant. Someone will slip on the marbles, slide across the floor, and land face first onto the deadly nail. To lure them in, he smashes a mug on the ground. But when the door opens, the draft simply blows the marbles out of the way. It is another humiliating failure. By now, the trio has stopped fearing him entirely. They openly make fun of Finley because he hasn't managed to kill a single person. During Jennifer's birthday celebration, Finley tries one more time. He pulls a can of foam spray from a drawer, intending to spray it over the candles to create a massive fireball. Instead, he accidentally sprays the foam directly into his own eyes, blinding himself. In a final, desperate attempt, he sets up a crossbow behind Chris's head, rigging it with a tripwire. He hides in the shadows and pulls the string. Snap! He hears Alexander shout, "Oh my God!" He finally did it. Finley's heart soars. He thinks he has finally killed someone. But when he looks, he realizes the truth. The recoil knocked the crossbow to the floor, and the arrow shot harmlessly into the roof. The mess Alexander is screaming about isn't a dead body. It's cat poop on the rug. Hungry for any kind of recognition, Finley decides to take the blame for the cat. Chris grabs the doll and forcefully rubs his face in the mess, scolding him like a bad pet. He tells Finley he is nothing, just a worthless dummy who can't even kill properly. Broken and accepting his total defeat, Finley retreats to the attic and locks himself back in his box. But on Christmas Eve, the silence is broken. 2 robbers break into the house. Alexander hears the noise and wakes Chris. Thinking it's just Finley acting up again, Chris steps into the hallway and discovers the front door is wide open. Before he can react, he is knocked unconscious by one of the burglars. The intruders drag both girls into the hallway. Up in his box, Finley hears her cries. These men aren't just here for money. Seeing the girls, their intentions turn darker. Suddenly, the power to the whole house is cut. The burglars hear a strange noise coming from the attic. The leader orders his partner to investigate. The second burglar climbs up into the dark. Scanning the room with a flashlight, he spots Finley sitting in the corner. Seeing it's just a lifeless dummy, he relaxes. The next second, marbles roll across the floor beneath his feet. Before he can react, Finley attacks. The burglar slips on the marbles, and his hand slams down hard, right onto the nailed mat. Finley leaps onto his face. He is holding a plastic bag. The burglar struggles violently and manages to throw the doll off. Finley rises. Seeing a lifeless doll moving on its own terrifies a man so much that he scrambles backward, rolling himself directly onto the nail mat. He is unable to move. Finley smiles at him. He picks up a knife, and this time he doesn't miss. He stabs the intruder again and again until the struggle stops. Downstairs, the lead burglar hears the intimidating manic laugh of the doll echoing from above. He climbs into the attic and finds his partner's dead body. He feels a presence. Checking the next room, he finds Finley sitting quietly on a chair, staring at him. As the burglar turns his head, Finley fires a crossbow. The arrow strikes the man in the leg. Screaming in pain, the burglar limps in the bathroom to pull the arrow out. He hears water running in the bathtub. Suddenly, the power comes back on. He looks up to see Finley standing beside him. The burglar puts a gun to the doll's forehead, but Finley is faster. He grabs a foam spray and fires it over the man's hand. In a panic, the burglar plunges his burning hand into the bathtub water to douse the flames. But the toaster is already in the water. Finley calmly plugs a wire into the socket. The burglar is electrocuted, convulsing in agony until he collapses. He moans in pain, still barely alive. Finley jumps down from the counter. He picks up the knife, and he finishes the job, stabbing him mercilessly. The next day, the mood has changed. Finley is wearing a new dress. Alexander brings in juice for everyone and offers a glass to Finley, but Finley denies it. Today, the juice tastes bitter, because finally, after all the failures and humiliation, Finley has succeeded in his long plan. Let's break down exactly how this film builds its world without saying a word. The very first frame of the movie isn't Finley. It's this clown doll. Why start here? It sets a subconscious trap. Clowns, a universal symbol of generic horror. By starting with this terrifying image, the director tricks us into expecting a standard scary movie. It establishes a mood of dread in the attic before we even see the real threat. But look at the environment. The attic is filled with discarded books and old junk. This tells us that Finley is just another forgotten object to humans. However, notice the warning on his crate. Stamped on the side is the word fragile. This is a brilliant double entendre. Physically, Finley is a wooden doll. He is fragile. But psychologically, it represents his fragile ego. When the box is opened, the visual storytelling creates an immediate reference to Silence of the Lambs. Finley is heavily chained, but more importantly, his mouth is bound with cloth. Why muzzle a doll? Later, we hear his distinct, manic, wheezing laugh. The cloth wasn't there to stop him from biting. It was to keep him quiet. It implies that his laughter is uncontrollable, a symptom of his pure insanity. But the film doesn't just want us to fear him. It wants us to pity him. After his plans fail, as Finley retreats to his box, a single, practical tear rolls down his face. This is the moment the genre shifts. A standard slasher villain doesn't cry. By giving a wooden puppet the ability to weep over his own failure, the film humanizes him. We stop seeing him as a threat and start seeing him as a tragic character. This leads to the most important relationship in the film, the cat. Throughout the movie, the cat is the only living thing that accepts Finley, and the director foreshadows the ending right here. Look at the bucket they're sitting next to. It reads, "We believe in heroes." This perfectly frames Finley's arc. He isn't the villain of this story. He is the anti-hero waiting for his moment, and that moment comes here. Notice that Finley actually enjoys the violence. When the burglars are attacking humans, he watches passively. He likes the suffering. But the turning point happens the second the burglar aims his gun at the cat. That is the trigger. Finley doesn't save the family because he loves them. He saves them because you do not touch his cat. Finally, notice the physical performance of the puppet during the kills. Whenever Finley is about to kill, or when he succeeds, he doesn't just stand there. He vibrates. He shakes his head and body in a manic, jittery rhythm. This physical shudder conveys pure adrenaline and joy. It is a detail you can only get with a real puppet, showing us that for Finley, murder isn't just a job, it's a celebration. So, what is this movie actually about? On the surface, it's a funny slasher. But beneath the jokes, Finley is a surprisingly deep character study about purpose. Think about Finley's existence. He was created as a doll, an object meant to be played with. But somewhere inside that wooden head, he developed the soul of a predator. This creates a tragic internal conflict. He has the ambition of Michael Myers, but the body of a Beanie Baby. Psychologically, Finley is the ultimate example of the Napoleon complex. He is angry because he is small. His violence is an overcompensation for his physical limitations. Every time he tries to kill someone and fails, it reinforces his own worthlessness. That tear we saw earlier, that wasn't sadness. That was an existential crisis. He was realizing that he was biologically incapable of fulfilling his only purpose in life. This is why the ending is so satisfying. It isn't just about saving the family. It is about self-actualization. When he finally kills the burglar, Finley isn't just protecting his home. He is finally becoming who he was meant to be. The monster inside finally matches the actions outside. Finley is a mirror. If you are innocent, he is just a doll. But if you are guilty, he is a demon. Ultimately, Finley flips the script on the Pinocchio trope. Pinocchio wanted to be a real boy so he could be good. Finley wanted to be real so he could be bad. And in the end, he gets his wish. He doesn't need to be a real boy. He just needed the right victim. In a genre filled with endless sequels and CGI monsters, Finley proves that you don't need a massive budget to make a masterpiece. You just need a puppet, a camera, and a twisted sense of humor. It takes the oldest trope in the book, the killer doll, and completely deconstructs it. It makes us laugh at the killer, then pity him, and finally, cheer for him. So, the next time you hear a noise in your attic, or you find an old box left behind by previous owners, maybe don't open it. Or, if you do, just make sure you have a cat. It might be the only thing that saved your life. This has been Story in Frames. If you enjoyed seeing the softer side of serial killer, hit that like button. It helps the channel more than you know. And if you want to explore the darkest corners of cinema every week, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Let me know in the comments. Would you keep Finley as a pet? Or would you move out immediately? I'll see you in the next nightmare.